What's up guys, Matthew here, back at it again with another board game review. I don't know why I did it like that. Today, we're going to be looking at Fluxx by Looney Labs. Fluxx suffers from the Munchkin disease. That is, there's so many versions of this game that you can buy, but not in a bad way. You can get a Monty Python version of this game, you can get a stoner version of this game, you can get a space version of this game. There's so many versions of this game to contribute to any and all tastes that people might have. The version I have is the original, just because I guess, you know, maybe it's partly an OCD thing where I just like to have the original first and then maybe grab knockoffs afterwards. I don't know, but that's just me personally. It has nothing to do with, oh, this one's better than the other ones. No, there's only one major difference, and we'll get into that later. Fluxx is a wonky game. It might not seem like it at first, but it is incredibly wonky. If you look on the box here, you'll see right here, it says the time it will take, 5 to 30 minutes. Yeah, it's wonky, okay? When you look at a game time and it says 5 to 30 minutes, that's a very wide window. And so that can only assume that the game has many avenues in which it can go down. The game is easy for anyone to play. Starting it is super simple. You have this little guide card and you put it onto the board and it tells you right off the bat that the first thing you can do is you draw 3 cards. So everybody draws 3 cards and then you draw one and play one. And that's the only rule for the rest of the game. Or is it? As you draw cards, you will encounter many different types of cards. You have yellow cards, which are called new rule cards, and these will add rules to the game as you play it. Gold cards, which are magenta, which essentially are how to win the game. Because when you start playing the game, you actually can't win it until one of these are put onto the table. The green cards are keeper cards, and these cards are supposed to help you win the game, essentially. And you have blue cards that are action cards, and they get discarded immediately once they've been resolved. Now, those are all the card types that Fluxx has. Now, in the other games, such as like, you know, the Monty Python version or the Cthulhu version or whatever, they have a thing called creepers. However, having not played those versions, I actually don't know what the creepers do. However, this game, the original version, well, it's an updated original version, but you know what I mean. They took the creepers out because I guess they felt that it was better without them, maybe. I don't know. But I'll have to do another review of another version of Fluxx, and in order to really bring home the creepers aspect of it, or at least do a discussion on creepers as a whole. God, it feels like I'm talking about Minecraft right now. I haven't played that game in like years, I think, and I still have my account, but God. Want to hear a tangent for a second? This was while I was in university. I was walking to the bus and I found $30 on the ground. And you know what I did with that $30? Oh, you probably like bought Subway for a couple of days, or you know, like got a lot of food, or maybe like gone to see a movie or something. I bought Minecraft with that money. I'd very much like my $30 back, thank you. Whoever's out there, please.
We are mining diamonds.
Anyway, sorry. Tangent aside, here's the game. Every card is played the same. You just put it down in front of you and then resolve whatever the card is. If it's a goal, you're only allowed one goal on the table at a time, unless a rule has been changed to allow more goals at a time. But if someone already has a goal on the table, you have to replace that goal with the goal that you played. When you're playing a keeper, you play it in front of you, and then you just keep it in front of you, essentially. That's why it's called a keeper. Who would have thought? However, if there's a rule that tells you can't have a certain number of keepers, then you'll have to replace one or another when it comes to that. But it all comes back to these new rules. And when you're playing a new rule, you can just put it down right beside the guide card and, you know, continue on with whatever the game wants you to do. There are also specific types of rule cards that will change the draw and playing rule. So as I mentioned at the beginning, it's draw 1 and play 1. However, there's rules that might say draw 2, play 5, or draw 3, play all, or whatever. They have the whole variety of numbers that you can use and play to screw with the entire game. So you might have a game where you're like, draw 5, play 5, and you're playing a bunch of things at once, and the game becomes just utter madness. Now, if one rule is being played and it contradicts another rule, then you replace that rule that's contradicting. So, for example, you can't have 2 play cards at once, because that doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't have play 2 and then play 3 right beside it. You have to replace one to the other. Another thing to keep in mind is if a rule gets played and it would have allowed you to draw extra cards, then you'll pick up the cards that you're missing on that turn, even if you've already played something to change that rule. You still get to reap the benefits of that rule, basically. But the rule cards are really the meat and potatoes of how this game is going to go. I've had games that had like 20 rules cards on the table, and we have to like do math every time we play. We're like, okay, this one, blah, 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 blah. Oh, it becomes so complex sometimes. But it's like, that's the beauty of this game. Is like, you could complain that there's too many rules on the board, but at the end of the day, you were the one that put the rule down, or your opponent was anyway. It's a game where it's your fault. However long the game takes, it's your fault. It's the opponent's fault. It's anyone's fault. But the game had nothing to do with it besides offering cards to put down. It becomes such a fun experience to just see how screwed up you can make a game. It's not even about winning in this game. I'm not saying that as a cliche, where it's like, oh, it's not about winning, guys. It's not about winning. It's all about having fun. But this game is legitimately not about winning at all. It's just about seeing how much you can screw around with your opponents or screw around with the entire game. We'll have games where we're purposely trying to prolong the end of the game to see how much we can screw it up. And it becomes so much fun. So who do I recommend Fluxx to? Well, obviously, it's a great family game. It's nice and fun, and if you're looking for something to end the night with, something that isn't too heavily competitive, and something that's just fun to just see what happens and just get some good laughs out of it, you've got yourself the perfect game for that. However, some people are going to be detracted by the idea of this game existing, because when you take out the aspect of it having to be competitive, where like it's obviously the competition is obviously not the focus, people will probably get detracted. Some people will get detracted by the idea because they feel like they need more competition, they need more fire, and that's fine. It's totally valid thought and opinion, but just because this game isn't for you doesn't really make this game bad in any aspect. I think the game is actually fantastic in what they're trying to sell you. There's no lies here. There's no false advertisement. It is what it is. Just a silly game. And you know what? That's all right in my book. So there you go. Short video today. Not much that this game has in terms of its metagame or whatever, but short video. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. And subscribe if you haven't already. Doing these every week, of course. And thank you so much. And I will see you again next week. Peace out.